Hi, everyone. It's Paul Gillen with this IBM Midsize Insider podcast, and on the phone with me is IBM's Director of Enterprise Social Strategy, Ethan McCarty, and he is here to talk about IBM Voices. But first of all, Ethan, I want to know what IBM's Director of Enterprise Social Strategy does. What's your role vis-a-vis all the other social media specialists at IBM?
Well, Paul, thank you very much for having me on your podcast, first of all. And to answer your question, my team and I look at the interactions that the world has with IBM, and we try to come up with ways to make those interactions have the most impact and value possible for all of the people who are having the interactions. And that means for the IBM experts and for our clients or prospects or potentially the communities that we want to do business with, people who we want to innovate with, for example, the development community, people who we work with every day, like business partners. And so that means that we kind of create the guidelines and some of the systems that help us have the best brand channels on third-party sites, like IBM's official presence on, say Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook, these kind of things. We build the guidelines for that. And we try to build the governance and the best examples of that. And then also we try to help IBMers, individual IBMers, have the best presence possible. So our subject matter experts have a robust kind of reputation online, if you will. And between those two things, between the channels that we help either directly manage or create the guidelines for, and the subject matter experts who we help enable, or we directly coach, we're trying to create that overall really great experience with IBM's experts and expertise. So that's what my team and I do here at IBM.
Well, you certainly have showcased the expertise of IBMers in social channels with the Voices site. I'm guessing not a lot of people have seen Voices. It is still a work in progress, obviously, but what was the goal, the original goal for this aggregation service?
Sure. So we had a couple goals. I mean, one of them is, a governance thought. I mean, so just simply, we've had a lot of activity across IBM in social media, internally and externally. And we'll talk, I think, later a little bit about some of the groundwork around our company's guidelines that encourage, people to go, IBMers to go and use social media to talk with their clients and with other, sort of to demonstrate their expertise in various ways. And so one of the thoughts in our head when we were coming up with IBM.com Voices was to create a place to showcase the best as a way to indicate to the rest of IBMers what some of the best behaviors and the best content and the best activity on social looks like, so they have a positive way to emulate that. So there's a bit of a governance thought, in creating that. And we're also trying to create not just a website, but also a web service, so that we would be able to pipe that best, the best IBM social media activity and, the artifacts of our expertise, if you will, into other experiences. So what's behind Voices, that web service component of it, allows us to surface, say, all the content about IBM's best content around cloud computing or analytics or any number of strategic topics into, say, a different web page or into a mobile app or onto an intranet site, for example, for our salespeople. So those were kind of the two main motivators in mind, was to create a way to, exemplify our best, our best social media activity as a kind of signal to the rest of the organization, and also to create a data service that allows us to sort of pipe that content into whatever way we want to interact with, potentially clients or other employees to give them access to that best of IBM.
Now, at this point, you don't have everyone who's active on social media within IBM. How did you choose the people and groups to be included?
I'm glad you asked that. It's not easy. I'll tell you that first of all. So we had to do a lot of this is sort of the point of this is not just a technology program. We had to do a lot of work to put together some criteria and brand guidelines and a whole enablement program for IBM employees before we could create a thing called IBM Voices. And this work started quite some time ago. Actually, you could even really date it back to like 2005 when we put together our social computing guidelines that start to talk about some of the etiquette and what would be the right kind of behaviors to exhibit as an IBMer in social media. But then more recently, about a year and a half ago, we put together at the worldwide team social brand engagement guidelines, which have some criteria around naming of the channel and imagery that gets used, and putting the right kind of contacts inside of social media channels, so that we never have a kind of faceless or anonymous channel. There's always very clearly an IBMer behind it, and content quality. And so what we did is we started to ask the social media teams around the world at IBM to register the channels, the official channels that we manage, and we started to evaluate those against those quality and brand guidelines. And if they meet those guidelines, they get added to the Voices program. And then we have a tiered enablement program at IBM around teaching IBMers how to best use social media. And what we started with is we have, of course, the guidelines and policy I talked about, but we also have some general education for IBMers, that covers everything from cybersecurity to Twitter 101 to how to use our internal collaborations program called Connections. And then the next tier is to become sort of in our Forward Thinker program, which is a program that helps us externalize IBMers. And then at the very top, there's this IBM Select program where we actually create custom plans for some of our subject matter experts in very strategic areas like social computing and analytics and mobile computing and these kind of things. So what we did is we started to select those people at the top of the list, pardon my pun, the people who are in the Select program, and add those folks to the IBM Voices program. So then basically what you get is the best channels as curated by the global team, so they meet those criteria, and the best subject matter experts in the most strategic areas. And while we only have about, at this point, 150 channels and subject matter experts combined, we're rapidly expanding that. And I hope to have something like 10 times that number by the end of this year. It's not my intention for this to be comprehensive, though. It shouldn't be something that every single IBMer participates in, because first of all, not every IBMer wants to. But secondly, I really want this to be strategic for IBM and to demonstrate IBM's, the very best of IBM's expertise. And so we're trying to find a balance between having this be a program that is accessible and people can realistically aspire to being a part of, and also maintain that high quality standard.
How do you believe that others outside of IBM might use this resource?
Well, we're already seeing some kind of interesting interaction patterns. Obviously, we've only put this up a couple months ago, so it's very new. But we're already seeing some interesting interaction patterns in terms of what people are actually doing on the page. So one thing that we're seeing people do is we have a sense for how people are searching on the page, and we see a lot of people putting keywords related to IBM's products or kind of strategic questions almost into the search bar. So we see things like what is cloud computing? That's a common search term, or just cloud computing. And what that allows somebody to do on the page is filter down to like, oh, well, here's all the latest things that IBMers or the official IBM channels have published on that topic. And so we see that happening, and then we also have this analytic that runs periodically on the service that looks at all the data that's going through IBM Voices. So the titles of all the all the tweets and the blog posts and the titles of all the videos and these kind of things, and it creates a word cloud that sort of nests at the top of the page. And we see a lot of people clicking on that. What's interesting about it is it provides a kind of dynamic snapshot, if you will, of what's hot at IBM. So we see a lot of people clicking on those, which to me indicates, and we haven't gotten to do a lot of research yet on how people are using this, but it indicates to me that people are looking at Voices as a way to find out what's hot, new, and important, and what's on the mind, sort of what's on the collective consciousness of IBM and IBMers.
Currently, you're featuring blogs, tweets, and videos. What are your thoughts on expanding the number of channels that you cover?
Anything with a feed, I'm interested in. I mean, I can just say that sort of generically. For the most part, social platforms they seem to sort of go through this arc, and we'll see how this plays out. But they attract a lot of users with a great deal of openness, and then it's very easy to access them by either APIs or RSS feeds or something. And then over time, they sort of shut those means of access off, or try to monetize those means of accessing them. So,
Twitter, presumably of Twitter right now.
Yeah, well, yeah,
sure.
Twitter, Facebook, even. I mean, so it's sort of across the board. But what's interesting to me about that is you have a lot of opportunity to drive activity onto those platforms. I'm sort of agnostic about the platforms. So there's a lot of interest in participating, because I think IBMers are adding a lot of value to those platforms, and so we've had some good conversations with those groups. But to me, wherever I'm agnostic about it, because I sort of feel like any platform where IBMers are able to demonstrate their expertise, and I start to see a lot of that happening. If there's a way to get a feed out of that platform, I'm interested, because you sort of want to fish where the fish are. So if IBMers are having valuable interactions with clients on whatever platform, if they're having that that kind of activity on Pinterest, gosh, I'll take a Pinterest feed. I'm not really discriminate about the source so much as I am about the quality of the interaction.
IBM takes a federated approach to social media. It doesn't centralize, and as a result, a lot of people don't know what's going on in different IBM channels. There was, at least last time I checked, there was no master list of IBM branded Twitter accounts, for example. And I think Bill Chamberlain last year was pulling together the first list of all the IBM Facebook presences. You've got a very decentralized blogging community out there. Was this a challenge in putting voices together, the fact that there are so many IBM outposts that are not really known at a central level?
Yeah, and in fact, this is IBM Voices is meant to be it's meant to be a bit of a response to that, an answer to that. And Bill and I are actually I talk with him all the time, and I'm on some of his lists, in fact, of IBMers who tweet and IBMers who blog. And it's, to me, the opportunity here is to actually create something better than a list. And that's what Voices is doing. I mean, a list to me is it sort of has a sort of static sense, and I'm going to have to scroll through something, and it's something that has to be updated as there's some painful process of updating it. And that there's I think Voices signals a sort of post-list world. We do have a registration mechanism, as I was saying, on the back end, which allows IBM channel managers or brand channel social media managers to register their feed, whether it's a Facebook page or a Twitter ID or whatever. And then we have this list of subject matter experts as well, and who get added to Voices. So what you get with Voices is actually an answer to that question of, where is the action happening from IBM in the social space? And rather than scrolling through a list of IDs or trying to navigate some kind of taxonomy of brand channels or something like that, you can see the content bubbling up in real time. And I think we have a lot of there's a lot of opportunity here to present that data in different ways that I'm really excited about. We could even make a list. In fact, if that was the visualization that we wanted to, we could make a list even.
That really feeds into my next question, which is about organization. Right now, you have a flat single-dimensional web page with streams. What's your thinking about how the look and feel will evolve over time? How people will access this content?
Yay, that's my favorite question, because that's the forward-leaning question. So we got this up on IBM.com really quickly, and we're using this agile method, this agile Scrum methodology to build the system. So our motivator was, what can we get up that will be useful immediately? And we had all kinds of beautiful drawings on the wall of globes and maps and tree maps and all kinds of interesting filters we could apply. And then we realized, what we could do? We could probably in about a month get a chronological list with a search bar and a word cloud. And so we just went and nailed that. And I'm very excited that we got that one out the door. And now that we have that, we're learning about how people are interacting with the data that's presented there. And what I'd really like is for the use of the service and the use of the web page to direct how we develop the program. And so as we're seeing how people are interacting, like I told you, we're seeing people typing questions into the search bar, and we're seeing people type sort of strategic category names like cloud computing or mobile enterprise into the search bar, and we're seeing people click those kind of words. That's starting to indicate to us how people want to interact with the information there, and so we can design to that. So one of the things that's becoming apparent to us is that people would like to see kind of categorical views of the data. Show me, when I first arrive here, show me all the cloud computing stuff, or let me navigate by category somehow. And so we're starting to play with designs that do that, whether it's like a bigger or more robust word cloud, or if we do something that looks a little bit like Newsmap, or we use some of the visualizations from Wordle or from Many Eyes. We're starting to look at ways to do that. We have, I don't know if you know this, but at IBM we have some really smart people when it comes to visualization. And I've talked with some of our friends in the research division and some of our friends in software group about taking the visualization engine that's called Rave, the Rave visualization engine, and applying that given what we know about the users. So that's one thing that's very exciting to me. And I think also, we have some notions about what we think has the most impact. And sometimes the social media content that has the most followers or even the most retweets or reposts is not always the social media activity that has the most impact. Sometimes there's other ways to see if there's engagement or increased reach or amplification around a certain around a certain person or theme or channel or particular video, for example, content object. And we have this measurement framework that we've been using to describe that relative level of success or impact. And I think it would be very interesting. One of the ideas that we're playing around with is creating a visualization based on what is having a lot of impact. So what's being, maybe there's a way to show in a geographical sense how an idea is traveling around the world, or maybe there's a way to show in a volume sense how much dialogue there is around a certain topic. And once we get into that, boy, our designers, they get really excited, and they have some really beautiful ideas about how to present this really rich content we have.
So how are you getting, what kind of input are you getting, or what kind of response are you getting from the public?
Yeah, we're getting really great response. So I've posted a couple blog entries, and some of them have been picked up by other publications. And we put a blog entry on the Smarter Planet blog, asmarterplanet.com, which got picked up from a bunch of publications, including Wired. Got a lot of comments. When I gave a presentation last week at South by Southwest about some of this work, and boy, there were a lot of people tweeting in the audience who decided to add that, the URL ibm.com/voices to their tweets, and they were pretty excited about it because we're doing something very unusual, juxtaposing individual voices with brand channels. I don't really know of too many other companies that are doing that in a way that isn't completely driven by executives. It's pretty typical for companies to say, okay, here's an executive spokesman. It's quite atypical, I think, to say, here are our official channels, here are our individual, our employees, and we're going to mash those up together. And so that's gotten a lot of excitement. I've seen a lot of positive feedback around that. And also, a lot of people have sent me interesting ideas for how I might refine the service. And let me tell you, I'm very open to that. I don't think we have the monopoly on good ideas here.
I mean, outside of the fact that it's an interesting new thing to look at, how do you find people actually using it, getting value out of it?
One of the things that we're looking at is our ability to point conversation towards a point of view that helps people understand what IBM is all about and what value IBM can add. And a decent proxy for that is seeing when people take the time to engage with IBM's point of view, take the time to, whether it's leaving a comment or retweeting or downloading a white paper on a particular topic. And what we've been trying to do with Voices is from the get-go instrument it in a way that lets us observe that and even report it back to some of our channel owners, like those who own Twitter IDs or LinkedIn groups or whatever, and to some of these subject matter experts to help them understand what impact they are having on a personal level, professional level. And we've been able to demonstrate that. We've been able to say, you help a subject matter expert to increase his or her professional reputation through, say, having a more robust presence on LinkedIn or blogging in a specific way, and we can actually measure the increased level of interaction with that subject matter expert or with that piece of content. And so, to me, what that indicates is you have helped to build. We've helped to build the brand there. Of course, there's also a marketing objective, a marketing communications objective for some of those activities, not for every single social media activity that IBM does. And for some of those, we're able to look at conversions to leads. And we found that our presence in social media is a very legitimate way to get people to come and register for events, to register when they download a piece of IP like a white paper or something like that. Because the level of engagement is very high. You have on one end of it a very engaged IBM subject matter expert, so an employee who's engaged, and on the other end you have a very qualified either client or prospect who wants more information about the thing that IBM is doing, and ideally it's around some kind of IBM innovation. And so we're able to drive a very positive experience and potentially even drive revenue for IBM. We have some nice leads so far. We've not been able to track that all the way to revenue. Granted, this program's been running for a couple months now, so it's new. But on the client side, it's like if we can help you find a solution from IBM, boy, that's a win.
The division that I work with works extensively with business partners. Can you see any specific value that they might get out of an experiment like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, you have a way for our business partners to get more information about what IBM's doing, because there isn't always, it isn't always obvious, because, like you said, we have a very sort of federated presence. But for business partners, Voices could be a really fantastic resource when it comes to, if you want to filter your search or hone in on a particular topic, like whether it's social business or mobile or analytics. It should help our business partners to find those key assets, and ideally it should also help them to identify some of IBM's thought leaders in the space, and experts that we have that those business partners might be able to tap into. If a business partner has ever found him or herself going to our old About IBM page or community page on IBM.com, I would recommend they replace that activity with going to IBM Voices. It's a much more dynamic snapshot of that.
And just in the short term, what enhancements can people expect to see? What's on the short list for enhancements to what you have today?
That's an easy question, because I just came from a development meeting. What I've really asked my team to do is focus on the quality of the data. It's all about the quality of the data, because we could build the most beautiful interface in the world, but if we aren't able to sift through it and provide filters in advance of when our customers or business partners or whomever come to the service, then we haven't really done them a service. So you have we have an opportunity to apply some of IBM's own data analytics here and content management here to do that on the back end. So it may not be some kind of beautiful, spinny globe with, glowing things coming out of it and, something, beautiful and golden and sparkly. But I'm hoping that our ability to make the data that's coming through there and not only in the quality, but in the quantity, like I said, let's get more channels in there. Let's get more subject matter experts in there. I think that's what you can look forward to in the short term. Over the longer term, as we refine the data that's there, we're going to start to build, I think, some really exceptional user experience on top of it.
Well, Ethan, thank you very much for joining us. It's a remarkable experiment. It's a lot of fun too, and we'll look forward to how it develops in the coming months.
Paul, it was such a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much.